message, you know what I'm saying? You have been challenged, sir. You have been challenged, sir. Swiss, Timberland, hook the motherfucking speakers up. God damn it. Hook this shit up. Let's get this shit on. I'm tired of talking about it. Tired of talking about this shit.
You and 50 got a beef or something, man? Because I seen a post today where they were saying that you were supposed to be in I guess one of the power what's the name? I guess two of the actors on the show said that you were actually supposed to be on the show, and then they replaced you with Method Man, and they weren't expecting.
This wasn't supposed to go this far. What started as a competitive conversation between two hip-hop veterans quickly spiraled into something far more personal, far more dangerous, and far more unpredictable. For years, 50 Cent has built an image that very few dared to challenge. A master of psychological warfare, a man who didn't just win beefs but ended careers, and someone who understood the internet better than most artists ever could. But this time the situation was different. Because standing on the other side wasn't just enough.
How y'all bitch ass raised? I'm not raised like that. I don't go. I'm not going about my mama. I'm not going. So tell your ass mama dig her ass up and post a picture that look better than my mama. What's wrong with you? Y'all better tie y'all shoes. Y'all don't know who with. You better put that music up.
Another rapper trying to gain clout was a family. And more importantly, it was a son who felt like his mother had been disrespected on a global stage. When T.I. publicly addressed the failed Versus situation, it already created tension. But when things escalated toward his wife, the tone of the entire conflict shifted instantly. That's when King Harris entered the picture, not as an artist chasing attention, but as someone reacting emotionally, instinctively, and without the restraint that comes with years in the industry. What followed was not calculated strategy. It was raw reaction. And raw reactions, especially in the age of social media, tend to go further than intended. The internet quickly picked sides, debates exploded across platforms, and suddenly what could have been handled privately became a full-scale public war. But the real issue wasn't just what was being said. It was how far each side was willing to go to prove a point. And once certain lines are crossed, there's no real way to undo the damage that comes after.
The back and forth with you and 50.
Let's not talk about it.
You don't want to talk. That's fine.
No, because now
on your own terms. No.
You gonna get
I
me.
definitely don't. I was more wanting to later in life, looking back. I hope there's a place where things can be in a better place,
Well,
right?
you know what I heard?
And I think that's important.
Old man in prison told me.
The way that you expressed how you felt, did you ever think to not go as hard as you did, or to go about it a different way?
I treated people how they treated us. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing that I wanted to do. It was just something that just had to be done.
Domani, also you dropped a record. It felt more, did you get any inspiration from like...
The Versus battle could have been legendary. Two icons, two catalogs, two eras colliding on one stage in front of millions. For fans, it was a dream scenario. For the culture, it was history waiting to happen. But behind the scenes, things weren't as smooth as they appeared. According to T.I., conversations had already taken place. Not rumors, not speculation, but actual discussions where both sides seemed aligned. There was anticipation. There was momentum. There was even what sounded like an informal agreement. But then came the shift. When T.I. spoke publicly about the potential battle, expecting things to move forward, 50 Cent responded in a way that completely changed the narrative. Instead of confirming or even respectfully declining, he distanced himself entirely, using language that instantly reframed the situation. In hip-hop, words matter. Labels matter. And public perception matters even more. What might have been a simple disagreement...
Yeah. You see what's happening?
No love for the other side.
No love for the other side. You heard?
suddenly felt like disrespect. And in a culture built on pride and reputation, disrespect rarely goes unanswered. That's exactly what happened. T.I. took the conversation to major platforms, breaking down his side of the story, making it clear that he felt played in front of the world. Once that happened, the situation left the private space and entered the public arena. And once it's public, it becomes something else entirely. Fans get involved. Opinions multiply. And pressure builds on both sides to respond. What could have been resolved quietly now had an audience. And that audience wasn't just watching. It was reacting, judging, and amplifying every move that followed.
T.I. explained himself. They only responding because, hit dogs holler. Now, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. T.I., you know, T.I.'s son, they supposed to think that that's beauty, but I think deep down inside, T.I., he know what it is.
Instead of addressing the situation directly, 50 Cent did what he has always done best. He shifted the battlefield. Rather than responding with a detailed explanation or engaging in a direct back and forth with T.I., he redirected attention in a way that caught everyone off guard. He posted about Tiny Harris. That single move changed everything. Because this was no longer about music, business, or competition. This was personal. Tiny had not publicly inserted herself into the situation. She wasn't part of the Versus discussions. She hadn't made statements or taken sides. Yet suddenly she became the focal point of a conflict that had nothing to do with her. The reaction was immediate. Fans questioned the move. Critics called it unnecessary. Even people who typically supported 50 Cent found it difficult to defend. Because in hip-hop culture, there's an unspoken understanding. There are lines that shouldn't be crossed unless absolutely necessary. And bringing someone's spouse into a conflict without provocation is often seen as crossing one of those lines. But for 50 Cent, controversy has always been part of the strategy. Provocation creates reaction. Reaction creates attention. And attention keeps relevance alive. The problem this time was the type of reaction it triggered. Because while trolling another rapper might spark debate, targeting family sparks emotion. And emotion leads to unpredictable responses. That's exactly what happened next. Because while T.I. responded like a veteran, someone else responded like a son. And that difference in perspective is what pushed this situation into territory that nobody could fully control anymore. When King Harris stepped in, the tone of the entire situation shifted instantly. This wasn't industry politics anymore. This wasn't calculated branding or strategic moves designed to gain leverage. This was personal. And personal responses don't follow traditional rules.
50 Cent music ain't terrible. It ain't bad. He got some great music. But the thing is, he can't compete.
Right.
This ain't the way you can compete, because it's like you're gonna have to drop 3 dishes to even catch up. And you gotta.
King didn't approach the situation with years of experience or media training. He approached it as someone who felt his family had been disrespected in front of millions. That kind of emotion doesn't wait. It reacts. Almost immediately, he began responding publicly, first through music, then through social media. His diss track wasn't polished for commercial success. It wasn't built for charts or radio play. It was direct, aggressive, and driven by emotion. Every line carried frustration, anger, and a clear message. But the music was just the beginning. What followed was a series of posts that took things even further. Instead of limiting his response to lyrical exchanges, King began bringing up past controversies, resurfacing old narratives, and pushing the conflict into deeper territory. This wasn't just about defending his mother anymore. It became about challenging 50 Cent's entire public image. And that's where things became complicated. Because once a situation moves from present conflict to past exposure, it stops being controlled. Old stories resurface. Allegations gain new attention. And narratives begin to shift rapidly. For the first time in a long time, 50 Cent wasn't the only one controlling the direction of the conversation. And that alone made this situation different from anything people had seen before.
Auntie, what you think about 50 and the Harris family? Oh man, that is hilarious. But y'all know 50 ain't done. He's calculated. He's calculated. Let me tell you what my opinion. Let me get my opinion on this. What people's not understanding. Let me tell you a little bit about 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, 2 quarters, half a dollar, 50.
Would you want for your son to say something?
I can't honestly say I would want my son, especially your age. I know he's our son, but ain't he older?
Yeah, older.
He's 20 or 21 or something. Yeah. I would just want to handle it myself. I wouldn't want my kids or like my family to.
But people that love you, you can't tell them.
As the situation continued to unfold, outside voices began entering the conversation, adding new dimensions and new complications. Figures like Charleston White, known for his controversial takes and fear.
I thought, little yellow motherfucker got a big mouth with some pink lips. Yeah, he got some highly unusual white woman shaped pink lips, but he got a big mouth like the front of a platypus.
Fearless approach to public commentary, saw an opportunity and stepped in. His history with T.I. already made his involvement significant, but his presence also shifted the focus. Because now this wasn't just a direct conflict between two sides. It became a broader discussion involving multiple personalities, each bringing their own perspective and influence. When 50 Cent engaged with content related to Charleston White, speculation immediately followed. People began questioning whether this was a strategic move, an attempt to bring additional pressure into the situation, or simply another example of unpredictable social media behavior. Regardless of the intention, the effect was clear. The narrative became more complex. And with complexity comes confusion. Because the more voices involved, the harder it becomes to identify what's actually happening versus what's being perceived. Meanwhile, fans continue to analyze every detail, every post, every interaction. But the reality is that not every move has a clear explanation. Sometimes actions are reactive. Sometimes they're emotional. And sometimes they're simply misinterpreted. That's the challenge with public conflicts in the digital age. They're not just experienced. They're constantly analyzed, reshaped, and reinterpreted in real time. And that makes resolution even more difficult to achieve.
When I heard it for the first time, it reminded me of like Meet the Grams.
I would say, man, I just have questions. I just genuinely have questions. And I'm an understanding individual, and I know the reason people do certain things, it probably stem from how they grew up, how they was raised.
In the end, this situation became about more than just a disagreement between artists. It became a reflection of how quickly things can escalate when personal boundaries are crossed in public spaces. What started as a potential versus battle turned into a conflict involving families, emotions, and deeply personal issues. And while the internet may move on, the impact of moments like these doesn't disappear overnight. Because behind every headline are real people dealing with real consequences. Reputations shift. Relationships are affected. And actions taken in the heat of the moment can have lasting effects that extend far beyond the original conflict. The involvement of younger voices, especially those still navigating public life, adds another layer of complexity. Because their reactions are often more immediate, more emotional, and less filtered. And while that honesty can feel authentic, it can also lead to outcomes that are difficult to reverse. Meanwhile, the audience plays its own role. Every comment, every share, every reaction contributes to the momentum of the situation. And in many ways, that momentum can push conflicts further than they might have gone otherwise. So the question isn't just who was right or wrong. The question is what can be learned from situations like this. Because if there's one clear takeaway, it's this. Once certain lines are crossed, there's no simple way to go back. Only consequences that continue to unfold over time.